that's why I like the sessions, because you didn't even have to remember to push record. It just automatically did. But we are now live. Thank you so much, everyone. This is Monday, October 28th. We're doing a live market analysis. But before we get started, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bitcoin operating system. This is a project. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on here as well. And share my screen. There we go. So this is the first zero knowledge proof zero knowledge proof protocol connected to Bitcoin. Now, in the past, a lot of what Bitcoin has been is simply a proof of work protocol that, you know, if you mine a Bitcoin, you've got the proof to show that you did the algorithmic computations to find another Bitcoin, and boom, you're rewarded that Bitcoin as a miner. But it was rather limited in being able to set up smart contracts, and that's why things like Ethereum and Cardano came along, was because they recognized that there was more to economic drivers than just the work that needed to be done, but rather there were also things like agreements for work and proof of reputation when it comes to whether or not you are good at finishing the work that you're starting in the contract. All these different elements of economic stimulation, call it, or even sovereign economics. These things were always kind of missing from Bitcoin. Bitcoin provided a powerful basis, almost a precedent of what was possible. And since that time, people have been working hard to innovate and improve upon this technology. And so what Bitcoin OS is a method. It is it's a protocol, even more so an operating system, like a brain, in taking smart contracts from different chains and being able to settle them with Bitcoin. So for instance, if someone doesn't have ADA and the contract was built, the smart contract was built on Cardano, the contract can be fulfilled, meaning the people who are looking to pay the contractor, they can pay with Bitcoin and that contract can be settled. So now it's something that we see as interoperability. This is, I talk about interoperability a lot because really the coins don't matter. It's how can you trade with others? That's what matters. How can you trade with others? That is the economic driver, is knowing how you can trade with others. If you can start trading with others on your own, without any intermediaries, without any financial institutions, without a clearinghouse tracking every single transaction, if you can do that in the private realm, then all of the wealth that we have as a people is now in the private realm. And so this innovation here is going to open up a lot of possibilities for people, because now, instead of needing to have a specific coin in order to settle a contract, people can just agree that Bitcoin is probably good enough for doing that. And what you can do, because of the capacity of these smart contracts, is that you can actually take, for instance, if we were to set this up and people wanted to pay me in Bitcoin, well, I have a Bitcoin wallet that actually has a smart contract attached to it now, not through this kind of operating system, but rather through an exchange. Because I don't want to keep track of Bitcoin, nor do I want to hold Bitcoin, but I have no problem using it as a means of exchange. And so if people were to complete a contract by paying Bitcoin, that Bitcoin wallet that I have is going to go through my decentralized exchange and convert that Bitcoin directly into ADA and deposit it into my treasury. So, not that I have this set up, of course, but this operating system here is going to allow for those contracts that I create with others to be paid in Bitcoin. And this is going to spread across other chains as well. We're going to see this type of thing occur, where more and more protocols allow for interoperability between the different coins without anybody ever having to go and switch their coin for something else in order to complete the contract. Yeah, does that help? Any
It actually
questions
sounds
about it?
amazing.
Oh, it is super amazing. Yeah, it is super amazing. And okay, yeah, I've got solo layout on. All right, so let's get started with the market analysis here. Let's start with silver. Silver has a nice retracement now. Very, very nice retracement. We even saw that form itself on Friday. And at the end, by the end of the day, it had come back to its open. Well, it's been basically staying there since. I mean, take a look. On Wednesday, the 23rd, it closed at 33.6, and every day, opening and closing within just a few cents of that. So right now, yeah, 33.6, and then today opened at 33.7. It's been ranging back and forth between it's been ranging back and forth, up and down, literally from that little 10-cent window ever since Wednesday. Now, what does that mean? It just means we're accumulating. If we zoom in right now to the 15-minute chart, you'll start to see where this accumulation occurs. So let's go back. How much further back can I go? That's about it. That's no problem. We'll just go from here. So whenever you see a lot of price action occurring above or below a certain point, that's where you know a lot of accumulation occurs. That's where what we call pivot points. So for instance, you can see here back on 24th of September, this is the 15-minute chart, remember. So on the 24th of September, it butted up against this price point at 32. Well, it gave a good test here, rose above, went up to 32.7, but then it came back under and fell, and it just couldn't make it above that 32.2 again. Well, then it lost some momentum here, came back, and it found it again right there. You can see on the crosshairs, let's move this over a little bit. You can see on the crosshairs right up there. Oh, I got to make myself a little bit bigger. Either that or bring this down. So you can see on the crosshair how that lines up so well with those other points over there. I do actually have to make myself a little bit bigger here. Sorry, folks. All right, so my crosshair is right there. There we go. So you can see how the crosshair marks that price point, and it butted up against the bottom of it repeatedly. Again, tested a breakout here, but it just couldn't make it, and so it went under again. So that is an accumulation point. That's where we know there's a lot of trade activity because the bulls and the bears are having a fight. People who are bullish and bearish are going back and forth. And then what happens is that the bears win, it comes back down and tests this point down here. Well, look at that test point was also there. So this point and this point, oh, my ripple is gone. Let's get my cursor making there we go. So now you can see that little dot spread. So here we have this point here. Well, that point was tested back over there as well. So that's another range. That's a range in which we know that there's a lot of volume because it just doesn't seem to even go below that. The bulls end up winning. Now here, they're doing it again. So it's been going up and down and up and down and up and down this whole time. Here, there's some resistance again. Pulls back, and finally, even after, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, even after a little bit more resistance experienced here, it manages to break out and then goes on this little run. Well, now let's go to more current. Since that high that we called back on October, whatever that was, 22nd, yeah, a week ago, Since that high, we've been ranging. We've been ranging back and forth, even coming down a little bit. But this ranging is occurring between specific points. And right now we can see that there's this point here, right there, and right there. And again, here as well, you can see that there is where it kind of dipped down below, but it didn't actually go down to the next level. So it tested it, and then it came back up above, and then below, and then now it's having a difficult time getting above that spot. Well, this type of motion is what is represented in this chart here. Remember, each of these bars are just 15 minutes, but if we go into the daily chart and then zoom in, what I was just pointing at all occurred within this little time right here. There was that fall down, and then a little bit up, and then testing back and forth. And even when we zoom in further, you can see that those entry point, that's an exit right there. That's where the market closes. That next line is where it opens, and then it closes, it opens and closes and opens and closes, all within 10 cents. And then bounces around, ranges throughout the day. So that's why we know that we're accumulating and getting ready for the next impulse, whatever direction that might be. Typically, when we see this kind of price pattern, especially with the highs getting higher and the lows getting higher, the likelihood of us continuing this trend is very good. In fact, I'm going to go ahead, bring this back up. I'm going to go ahead and draw this as a trend line, because that is very, very much what we can expect to see be followed, is this trend line. So yeah, that's silver. Gold, let's talk about that. Similar price chart in the sense that it had this high on October 23rd, retraced, and has been ranging since, but gradually getting higher. So I believe that we're going to continue to see this pattern. And whenever it forms a new high, it'll kind of pull back a little bit and then gradually go up to meet that, retest it, and probably even go past it, simply because we're here. You know, over the next 3-4 months, this year is probably going to go up 20%. The rate at which we've risen over the last 4 years will be dwarfed by the rate at which it will rise in the coming months. Okay, S&P 500. This one here, not really too much to report other than this retracement. It looks like it's done, and it's going to be creating another high here soon. Either that or just retest the top before plummeting in the direction that I believe it will be going, which of course is back to pre-2020, that there. So right now it's at 58.35. I believe that it will drop below 21.87. And the reason for that is because ever since this here, the market has been propped up through terrible and destructive monetary policies. There's absolutely nothing. There's the only reason why it's valued why it's valued more than this, is because of inflation. And they've just been doing their best to make it look legit with inflating the currency. Because this is not a reflection of the value of the asset. This is a reflection right there. That is a reflection of the value of the dollar. So this is scarily similar to what occurred in 1929, and we're at that point. I mean, we're past that point. We've never been this far before. I mean, the amount of money that has been printed in the last 4 years, I think I remember seeing somewhere that it was more than the past 200 combined. So they're going to town just to make it look good. Not because it is good, but they need to make it look good. That's why all the announcements coming from the Federal Reserve, you know, and the JP Morgans are all positive about the economic growth that America's seen over the last 4 years. They will say everything's fine right up until the day, just like they did last time in the 2008 crash. They did the same thing. they talked about how awesome things were right even the day before it ended. They're doing it again. Dow Jones, another retracement. Looks like that's done. It's retested that trend line that we were riding on the way up, and it looks like, yeah, this retracement was nice deep into this pivot zone here. So likely again, gonna push it up towards more highs, or we could be like, honestly, this could be the week. It might be next week. It's just the only thing keeping it going right now is the belief that it's real. It's the only thing keeping it going. Once that belief is gone, and it's a thread of belief, I can assure you, once that thread of belief is cut, this will plummet again. Same thing. It'll plummet to before 2020 levels. And that drop right there, I mean, 2020, when it dropped at the beginning of 2020 because of the big scary pandemic, it dropped to 18,000. Oh yeah, just above 18,000. Well, what's 18,000 from here? From where we are right now? That's a 57% loss in the economy. 57%. When the market, if the market moves 7% in one day, they have to shut it down. So I believe this will take time. This won't happen all in one day, but it will be cataclysmic. Yeah, and biblical, actually. Biblical. Because this level of leverage that the Federal Reserve has put on that dollar is going to collapse. It can't go on. It's like nature. You know, I like to bring in the laws of nature. If you've ever seen, you know, like a sidewalk, concrete sidewalk, and sometimes, especially even after a couple of years, you can start to see it buckle. Well, it's mushrooms literally growing up through the concrete, breaking the concrete and growing. You've seen it. Grass can do it as well. Well, we're kind of watching the same thing unfold here. This is a structure that they've built. And everything that you see here, again, is not a reflection of the price of the market, and is certainly not a reflection of the value of the market. This is a reflection of the value of the currency. And nature always corrects herself, just like that concrete gets broken apart to give way to the mushrooms below. In the same way, we're going to watch all of this crumble and something new come out. And to the degree that we can make that something new our own is the degree that we have sovereignty over the economics, instead of having unelected, foreign, unelected entities calling the shots. So this is just great to watch. I love watching this kind of thing because it helps us learn about how this all works so that we can safeguard ourselves from the resulting theft that they are attempting to commit. NASDAQ. Moving on. NASDAQ right now has got a little bit of a different pattern. This high here hasn't been beat. This high was from July 11th. And ever since then, it's much like the Japanese markets in not being able to quite recover. And you can see it starting to peter out there. Same thing here. There we have it. This has got a little bit of a different price pattern, but same idea here. July 10th and 11th, a brand new high, all-time high formed. And then this big retracement. And ever since then, it's been having a very difficult time getting a leg back up over top of this pivot point. You can see lots of action. Let's bring this over. Lots of action here, there, well, even back over there too. Right there, right there, right there, there. And again, we're here, but it is not even able to maintain that. It gave a good test here, good little run. The bulls were having some fun, but the bears took over, and now it's even below this whole pivot zone that I drew here. So, yeah, that's what it is, Let's get into some digital stuff. NPC, of course, one of my favorite meme coins out there, simply because it's It really does exemplify the non-playable characters that are out there just regurgitating the program. And so I got a couple positions in this right now, looking for it to form an all-time high, yet another all-time high. Last one was October 12th. And yeah, I'm not buying right now. The only way I'm going to buy is if we get up over top of this and come back to retrace. Because it's after it goes up, my trade plan is that this trade here and this one here, these two trades, I'm going to close after we get up and start to show weakness where there's some resistance in the price. That's where I'm going to sell. If it comes back and retraces and retests this line, or even this one here at 30.4 cents, well, that's where I will repurchase to ride the next extension even higher. And that way I can increase the amount that I have in that trade. So right now, you know, let's say I don't know how many I have right now, but let's say I have 1,000. Well, when it goes up and I sell it for 5,000, as an example, it's not going to be that. I think it's only going to be, what is this here? Say it's, you know what, I think the next extension would probably be around here. So yeah, say I make 300%, or easy math, 300%. So that 1,000 turns into 3,000 worth. But then when it retraces and comes back down, it drops, you know, 30%. And it is not very difficult for something to drop that much in cryptos. So if it drops 30%, then I can take that 3,000 and actually purchase $4,000 worth. That's the idea. And that way, when the price goes up again, I appreciate more gains in that next movement than I would if I just stayed in the market and kept that trade open. So that's what I'm going to be doing with a lot of the meme coins, especially, just because they're fun. Thundog, this one here, I definitely went way too fast on this one. I took this trade on September 24th, and it was at a point where I was really excited about what I saw. Just the market cap was really good. This thing was going to town. Now it's still not out of the game, definitely not out of the game. It's just down 58%, and that's okay. I may even go ahead and add a little. I didn't put a whole lot in here. It's just a meme. It's just a meme, guys. So I might put a little bit more in here and try to recoup the amount going back up. Because going back up to the place that I purchased is 143%. So by adding a little bit here, I can actually recoup that lost opportunity that I had with the money here. So that's called dollar cost averaging. It's a very common strategy that you especially want to use when you are in a bullish market. Now, right now, this asset isn't bullish, but it's in crypto, which is bullish, and will probably continue to be so for the next 3 to 6 months. So this one here, I will be, Sundog. I'll be probably adding a little bit more while we're down in this lower area. Bonk, another meme coin. This one here is well, this one here has just been consolidating, and we can see that it's been narrowing as these trend lines come to a point here, and so we can expect a breakout pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and extend this out so that we can see how much time we have left before the energy is just too much. Yeah, that's probably close enough there. So we've got maybe a couple weeks left before it has to break out. Yeah, it says here 27 bars for it to finally get to the point where it's gonna have to leave. That could happen sooner, and my bias is that it will go up. And from this point that we're at right now, it's actually down from when I purchased. I purchased on October 26th, or October 16th rather. And so it's down 13% right now, but that's nothing discouraging because the outlook here is about 128, just to bring us back to the all-time high. And again, this might not do anything. It might just completely crash. But again, I didn't put a whole lot in. They're just memes. Now we get into some real world assets though. Woo. Woo is a great platform for social trading. I wish that they were offering services in Canada. I actually tried to sign up last week. But thankfully, even though I'm not able to sign up and use their services, I am allowed to trade them. So I've gone ahead and added a position on the 24th of September. And I think there was another one that I did. Yeah, actually, it does say here that I added another position on October 19th. That one was actually higher, probably because I thought we were headed up. I have to look back to see. Something tells me I didn't add more woo. Anyways, I marked it. The retracement here is actually very healthy. We've got these lows that are getting higher all the time. And so this is very good. With these highs getting higher, I do expect another impulse to bring us up to this 25-cent level. From where we are right now, just that 25% level is going to bring back a return of 44%. So even if you throw in $100, which I wouldn't recommend, simply because the transaction fees can be quite crippling. But if you put in, a couple $300 here, yeah, that 44% can translate, into, an additional $40 to $60. And for a lot of people, that's encouraging. It's not life-changing money, but it's encouraging whenever that can occur. People find, a lot more hope, a lot more, a lot more hope for what this is, what this renaissance really is, what this wealth transfer can provide for people. And that can happen in a very short period of time. And so definitely tune into our live market analysis every morning. And as you watch us, you'll become more familiar with these assets and find opportunities of your own. Let's move on to ARC. ARC here is a private AI project. Now in the past, it's had this long-term trend line coming down. We broke out of that back at the end of September and retested this high at 3.7 cents. And then it's been retracing since. Now remember, whenever we look at these retracements, we want to see where are we at in the bigger scheme of things. And you can see it's kind of scaling weird because of that banker's candle right here when they first opened up. But you can see how this point that we're at right now has provided a lot of activity. It's been a very high interest point. So we've had the little bit that occurred right here and here, and then all the way across. It's been testing. Oh, it moves up out there a little bit. It's been testing that same line ever since. And so we're here right now. This is what we call a low. And in this market right now, whenever it's a low, whenever the price goes down, it means it's time to buy. Because what you're doing is that you're lowering the average cost of the asset that you're holding. So here I purchased back on September 24th when the price was at 3 cents. Now it's dropped 45 cents. Well, now is the perfect time. And I talk about how I want to purchase this one, but I'm also kind of on the fence because I'm quite leveraged right now within my portfolio, but I can't resist. I'm pulling some money out of Canada and I'm putting it into this because it's going to do much better than that Canadian dollar no matter what. So I'm definitely going to add to this one and even appreciate the gains. Yeah, look at that. Back to where I purchased. Even if I just purchase now, back to where I purchased is going to give me a 76% gain. Going back to my target, the all-time high, that would give me a 700% gain. So 7x to bring me back to the all-time high. Why do I think it's going to happen? Well, because we are at the bottom, the very bottom of the AI bubble. And we're going to be experiencing that over the next 3 to 6 months. Tau. This one here is this one's a larger infrastructure project for big data companies. And this one here, it has retraced beautifully back down into this pivot zone here. And I said that when it came back down in here, I was going to get some. I'm not going to get much. Again, I think that we'll see other things perform with more velocity over the next little while. But for a long-term play, this one would be a good one to hold for a while because it's expected to overtake Ethereum, even though Ethereum is expected to reach 5 grand within the next 6 months. So same type of thing here. The level of growth is actually quite significant. Even Ethereum, that going over 5,000, that's not going to 10x the asset. Whereas with BitTensor, it's right now hanging out at $500, $518 at the moment. It dipped down and even formed a low at $458. And so people who grab that, and that's a very good spot to grab it. Look at how much activity occurred within that pivot zone. Up, and here it even tested it there. So with lots of activity within that pivot zone, we know that, there were a lot of people that purchased in this area here. And when they reach $5,000, they will be 10xing their asset. Whereas, people who are in Ethereum and it goes to $5,000, I don't even think that they double it. Let's go see. Ethereum. Yeah, it would be double right now. So you'll 2x your Ethereum, but you'll 10x Tau. So just keep that in mind when you're placing your positions. Injective token. Oh, I love the fact that it had this other dip here. This is just great. This breakout below this tiny little wedge to retest this long-term trend line is very encouraging, especially with this high that was formed on October 1st, beating out the high as it broke out of that trend line before. That's a great indication of things to come. This little bit of pullback here, that's very natural. We're seeing a lot of pullback, especially in the weeks leading up to utilitarian, the utility phase of a lot of these projects. And so the injective token saw that same dip that a lot of the crypto markets saw there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over the weekend. Desync, no exception, came down and even is testing going below into the pivot zone below this pennant pattern. You can see that wedge pattern being formed as that energy tightens and the price action gets smaller and smaller. That energy builds up, and we saw this test coming back down into this pivot zone, and so this could be the last little bit. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days. If we pop back into this area, I don't believe that this will be the rocket launch. However, if we can stay a couple of days down inside this pivot zone, that would give us the support, in this 13-14 cent range. That would give us the support for a larger movement to test even 23 to 25 cents. And from here right now, the all-time high is how far away? It's about 144% away. But desync is a long-term play for me. I am not going to be letting go of this anytime soon. If I let go of it, it'll be likely after this reaches 50 cents. And I will not even sell the whole amount. I'll probably only sell a portion of it and then bring it back in when I see that retest. Whatever that might be, whatever that retracement is, that's when I'll evaluate whether or not I add to the position. But this is a long-term play that will likely, it'll definitely experience the bubble and its pop, and that's likely once I know when that pop is going to occur, and we'll have the right markers to know when to leave the market, and when that occurs, you bet your boots on the other side of that bubble pop, I'm going to be taking everything that I made and reinvesting it at the very bottom, because it's not like AI is not going to go anywhere. It's definitely going to be a part of our lives for the foreseeable future. I think it's going to take probably about 10 to 15 years for people to finally clue in that we never really needed all this tech anyways, and we'll figure out how to live life without it, because really, the reason why tech exists is to do our work for us, right? And the more tech we have, the more time we're spending in front of these stupid screens, and that's just counterproductive. The reason why all this tech is coming forward is so that people like us can leverage that technology to do our work. And so once we get to the point where it's like, oh yeah, we were never supposed to be touching technology at all, that'll take probably about 10 to 15 years. But between now and then, I can tell you right now, generational wealth will be created in this innovation phase that we're in right now. So Desync is a storage and web hosting service, and they are going to be providing a lot of that hosting and web service web hosting and storage for AI projects. So definitely looking forward to seeing the gains from that. Zero by Zero, another private AI project that experienced some dip over the weekend, deeply retracing into this pivot zone here, but you can see, same as with a lot of these other assets, we are at this point here. This is, we just bounced off of this this 9-cent level. It's not even 9 cents, it's 9.6. And we've been here before many times, and then onwards over here, there, and there. This position has provided a lot of support in the past. If it goes below for much more than a couple of days, I would expect it to actually retest this line right here. This is the 6.6 cent level. Actually, it's 666. Huh. So if it comes down to here, I'm definitely going to, like the devil, load up on this asset here, because that's another crucial price point right there, as you can see after it opened up. This trend line also may be followed as well. This, what we experienced, this price impulse that we experienced here was the 25th of September, right there. That point right there is an indicator that we have the capacity to go higher. It really is going to depend on whether or not the price can maintain the support here at this 9-cent level, or if it needs to retest this lower price point. That's another 30% drop. If it drops this far, you can bet your boots, I'll be adding to this one here. Next, we have 3 Protocol. This company here is valuing people's ability to access funds through a Visa card without having to provide their identification. And again, I don't know how this works, because I tried to sign up for it in Canada and it won't let me. And I definitely need to do a little bit more searching to figure out how is it that they can say that you don't need KYC, or know your customer protocols, so they are not requiring people to submit their identification, and yet if you're in Canada, you can't use their services. It's odd, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this project progresses. I do not have money in this right now, just full disclosure there, but I'm watching this, because I know that if it retests this trend line down here, I'm definitely going to repurchase. If I purchase, it's going to be after it beats out this high. So otherwise, if it doesn't go down that low, I'm going to wait until it goes up this high and does a retracement. That's when I'll come into the market. Yeah, I like this project. I'm watching it carefully. It's still kind of new to me. That's why I haven't gotten into it with my own money. But the idea here is to watch, see what happens. If it comes down and grabs and retests this trend line, that's when I'll definitely, actually, you know what? I just realized I was putting down that down the middle, and I need to find these highs here. These are what we call banker's candles, when it kind of wicks off like that and then comes back in. So yeah, this is actually more so. And in light of that, this would be if I were to follow the rule I just said, it's now retesting that trend line. So yeah, this is actually a lot more encouraging now that I've realized I didn't have that trend line. I had it down the middle, which isn't wrong. It's just simply not, it's better to find the highs and lows and use those as trend lines instead. And so yeah, here we are at the retesting that trend line, and likely, yeah, we'll see. I might add some there. I am prioritizing ARC rather. I am going to be prioritizing ARC with my next installment. Let's go to Link. This Link AI, another private AI project. It's been quite consistent. It's the trade range has been large. It's 70% down and 250% up. Very, very encouraging in that respect. That it hasn't, done something like, what was it? I can't remember which asset it was that I'm thinking of. Oh, this one here is no. can't think of which one it was that I saw that where it goes all over the place, you know, huge scream up and then dropping right down to the close to the bottom again. That's very typical of a lot of these newer projects. But the fact that Link didn't have that occur is encouraging, and I think it's because they came later into this. They started this particular asset later in the innovation phase of their development, and so that's why I believe the price looks a little bit more stable than some of the other projects that I've seen, where it just comes out of the gate, you know, goes up to $1 and then comes back down to 2 cents. Those kinds of movements, they give me cause for concern. This one here, because of how consistent it is actually a lot more encouraging. Right now, the price action is testing the 10-cent level, 10.5 cent level, but we've been there before. We know that we're accumulating more volume at this time. I believe that we'll see, I believe that we'll see this, especially as it comes into utility phase in the coming weeks, that we'll see the price come back up and retest the 18-cent level. So between here and even 18 cents is a 73% increase, and then to the all-time high is 167% increase. Here is 01 Labs. This one here, again, very different pattern, fairly new, coming out of the gate, finding support off of the 13, 14 cent level, coming up, forming that new high, all-time high at 65 cents. And then the retracement here was very brief. Was actually a very small retracement. It didn't come down and even retest this yet. Now, I don't have money in this, but I'm watching it, because if it can give me a deeper retracement and even find some price action in this area where we were, you know, back here, this would be a great area for me to come in. And even if it tests this pivot zone here, that would be great. Between the two of those, that would be where I come in to play this game. I'm watching this one. If it breaks out and goes above this all-time high, I would want to see a nice extension. This one here doesn't give me enough confidence to go ahead and buy. I might be very well wrong in doing it. The only reason I'm not is because I am fairly over leveraged on a lot of the other assets, so I don't want to overdo it. FAR. This is a video gaming project. This one here is built off of the Polygon chain, and again, sure enough, on Friday had that big retracement coming back down below this pivot zone. I am not even the least bit concerned. This is a drop from my entry point that I made on October 8th. The drop is currently 13%, so it's very, very minimal. I'm not too concerned about it at all, considering that my target right now, the first target is the 2 cent level. So between here and even 2 cents is 189%. But I am on this one for the long term. I think that video gaming, well, it's not that I think it's already occurring. Video gaming is giving access to knowledge about how free we are as individuals in ways that no other medium has been able to provide. And so I think that video gaming is going to actually be leading many of the pioneers of the fourth industrial revolution. And between here and the all-time high is a 28% rise in value. So just to bring us all back to the all-time high. Now, this, I believe, is going to occur over a period of 3 to 6 months. Once the bubble hits and pops, it will definitely retrace, and that's when I'm going to be rebuying, because it's not like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. TRX, I love this chart just for how its consistency. It's been ranging within this trend, these two trend lines here, the highs being marked and then these lows being marked. And then I've also got a middle line as well. But again, I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. The reason why I like this so much is this is actually a logarithmic chart. So that means that what we're seeing here as a straight line is actually curved. So, you know, you'd imagine it being a more curved line. Now, I can't show you what that's like because When I go to just a regular one, it kind of skews my lines a bit. And it's just because of the way that these drawings get placed. But that there, what we're seeing in reality, this is actually an exponential curve, okay? So it's showing a straight line, but this scale here goes up exponentially. So the space that, between here and here is a lot more price action than the same distance down here. So that helps you kind of get an idea of what this chart is doing. Straight lines on a logarithmic chart means that this is actually curving exponentially. And just how consistent it has been since November of 2022 is very, very positive for this ecosystem. Solana. Oh, Solana. When are you going to get to your all-time high again? I do expect this to be eventually $500. I've had my doubts about Solana in the past simply because of how much they have failed the crypto ecosystem in a lot of its push to encourage people to be more independent. And I say that because they give in. I feel that they give in to the populace versus the correct. That's how I'll put that one. That's a very differing opinion and probably controversial for those who are watching. But I've just been watching this for a long time. I've been watching these markets since 2017. And in the trading that I've done, because of how much I valued how the markets work before I started trading, I learned how exchanges work. And the exchanges are where a lot of that theft occurs, the corruption occurs. And Solana doesn't really do much to mitigate that. Whereas some of the other chains that are out there, they actually have protocols in place to avoid that from happening. And I would like to see more of them do that. Now, that being said, we are in a bubble. And we're just going to make as much degenerate cash as we possibly can between now and then. And this Solana backs quite a bit of the communities that are bringing consensus to their projects. So what do I mean by that? You have developers and you've got users, and they are all of them interested parties in the projects that are being fed by the liquidity within this ecosystem. And as that progresses, what we'll see is as that progresses, these groups are coming to consensus on decentralized autonomous organizations primarily, coming to a consensus on where they would like these projects to go. And so this particular ecosystem has quite a few projects in on it, and the entire ecosystem is definitely ingrained and very, very interested in seeing their projects meet their vision. Well, that is going to create an influx. And I think that this $174 price right now is, well, actually, I believe that anything under this all-time high, 262, anything under that is likely on sale. And the reason I say that is because the way that this project is progressing, its market cap is likely to bring this price up to around $500. So between where we are right now and 500, what is that? That's over 3x. So right from here to 500, yeah, we're at 287% from where we are right now. That's a good spot. That's a good spot, especially for a coin such as Solana. Again, I would not be. I have no intention of I have no intention of keeping my portfolio into this long term, but there are some projects that I am in with Solana, And so I think actually Sundog, if I remember correct. No, Sundog is on Tron. I think Bonk. I think Bonk is on Solana. Anyway, so I keep track. Next, XRP. Again, I can see that we've got a few viewers here. I can't stress enough how much XRP is part of the banking cabal's mission to have our assets being completely tracked. They talk about how much they value privacy, and yet I have, in order for me to leverage this asset, especially in the realm of DeFi, I have to provide all of my government information. Well, that automatically is a violation in my mind of my privacy. And so they do it because they have to do it in order to, get approved for this or that regulation, which is fine. Go for it. That's fine. But don't talk to me about how you are wanting to do something different with cryptos or with blockchain in general if you are simply just following the protocols and regulations of the banking cartel that has successfully, many times in the past, taken the wealth from the people and given it to the elites. Just don't do that, and maybe I'll consider this as an asset worth keeping around for a long term. I watch the charts. I watch the charts because I want to know what's happening. Right now, we can see that it's actually testing the bears rather are testing a run below this trend line, long-term trend line. It's done that in the past, so nothing too alarming here. But I do expect some support to be found, especially around this 41-cent level. So if it dips down, I wouldn't expect it to go below that. If it does, that would be, the next point would probably be 31 cents. But something tells me it'll just continue to follow this trend line like it has in the past. Modic, Polygon, another big dip. Again, same type of thing as what we saw with a lot of the assets here. This is not discouraging to me. I did place a small position. Most of my coins are in deeper layers, but Polygon here, this one here, I've got a little bit down. What is this down right now from where I purchased before? It's down 13%. Again, nothing too discouraging about that, considering where it's been in the past and where it's headed. So this point here where we're at right now, that was a low back in June of 2022 when things were really bad in crypto. And so this doesn't mean it's bad. This simply means that we're accumulating lower prices, and the innovators and the founders are definitely rolling their trucks up to buy more. And the growth that we can see, because of the all-time high, I think it's just shy of $3. Yeah, $2 and, well, here it is right here. This was a high of $2.92. And that kind of growth from where we are right now will provide people with a 780%, 790% return. So very, very good prospects here to watch over the next 3 to 6 months. That's what I think it's going to be, 3 to 6 months for this bubble. And we'll know when to get out. ADA, same thing. Over the weekend, had a little bit of a dip. It's been recovering very well, very nominally since then. We can see that it is butting up against some resistance that has provided support in the past. And so we need a couple of days to see it actually get above that before we can expect it to retest this trend line here. We're not in a bullish market in Cardano. I'm bullish on it, but it's not in a bullish market right now. For that to be confirmed, I would want to see, I would want to see the price action actually break out above, like what I've drawn here. I would like to see it break out above this trend line and retest it, with then a push for this high that we saw here on September 27th, and then moving upwards to the next pivot point at 45 cents. So that's Cardano. I'm just always buying and selling in that one anyway. All right, so Ethereum had that little breakout that everybody got excited about, but then it tipped back down and even experienced that same, this is a 6% drop here on October 25th, and it's been recovering ever since. So we can expect this energy buildup that's like happening right now in this pennant to continue until it breaks out, either up or down. If it goes down, I think it'll retest the 21 level, 2180. And even beyond that, it's very possible that we'll see 1900 before we see it break out going upwards. For me to know that we're actually going up, I would want to see it break out over top of this red trend line. That one there has actually been lasting since, what is this here, May 27th. So once it breaks out above that, that's when I know that we actually are working our way to the next bearish trend line, which is this purple one here that's at the angle. That one there has been present since March. Bitcoin has been actually holding its own even within the little downturn that we saw over the weekend. It did go down on the Friday there, it did drop, but it's already recovered and even gone above from the place that it had dropped from. So good news, this nice little impulse here and this retracement does give me reason to believe that we have enough support to form another high. Whether or not it goes and beats out the all-time high that we saw on, is that March? Yeah, that all-time high that we saw in March. Whether it goes that high or not, I don't know. There's definitely enough support for it to go there, and there's certainly enough sentiment. As you can see, this call that I made, I didn't actually put real money into this, but this call that I made definitely failed. I thought it was gonna drop down to here, or even possibly the $43,000 level. Some people say, well, there's no way it can go down that far. It's like, well, yeah, there is a way that it can. And whether it does or not is another thing, but it is entirely possible for it to go that low. I don't think that it would go much more than that, simply because it actually costs $40,000 to mine one Bitcoin, just in electricity. The electricity costs to mine one Bitcoin is like 40,000 right here, right there. So that is break even on Bitcoin. So right now, the profit on a Bitcoin after you pay your electricity charges is about 70%, 72%. As we have inflation, that level is also going to go up, right? So keep that in mind as we're going through this. This is a bull run, there's no question, but the cost of electricity is also going to go up because of inflation. So as this wealth transfer occurs, we're going to be watching very carefully to see what's that crossover point. When are they going to stop measuring the cost of electricity in fiat, and when are they going to start measuring the cost of electricity in cryptos? That will be the day where we have a lot more, shall I say, confidence in the sustainability of this asset. Things like Bitcoin OS, though, that's going to open up a lot more opportunities for people, and that may actually provide an avenue where the people may use Bitcoin as a kind of a gold standard between each other, and that the price action that it receives as a result of the ETFs and then other financial instruments that the banking elite are creating around it, it could be where it's not going to be something that they can manipulate. It's possible. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that it is possible. Conversely, it's also possible that they will drop it down below that break even, that they will press for using those ETFs that they're selling, paper contracts. They may use those in the same way that they use gold and silver. Like, gold should not be priced this low. The only reason gold is priced this low is because of market manipulation. And in fact, I'd have to look up that case, but I think it was JP Morgan that's being fined $1 million a day for manipulating the prices of precious metals, and through paper contracts. And so with a Ponzi scheme running the price on gold, we know that this is not reflective of its true value. And the fact that these markets are going up at a similar rate is also clear indication that we have manipulation happening. So the fact is with the ETFs, I believe that creates a situation where we have paper contracts on Bitcoin and that they are going to be able to manipulate the price. Things like Bitcoin OS may counter that, but we have to remember that Bitcoin is only brought forward and put into circulation by miners. And right now, miners are appreciating a nice little 70% return on their investment with electricity. While the mining industry is starting to centralize. We're noticing it more where it's like larger mining operations are overtaking and even buying out smaller ones. So now we're having a centralization of mining occurring. That to me is kind of a red flag. It's like, well, who are those people? And with those ETFs having the capacity to drive this price down below the cost of mining it, their ability to do that is disconcerting. Not that they will, I don't know that they will, but they do have the ability to do that with those ETFs because they could just flood the market with it, bring the price down, and bring it so that people do not make money mining it anymore. They don't care if they lose on it. They care whether or not the independent small miner gets taken out so that they can then be the only one mining type thing. That possibility exists. I'm not saying it's going to happen, nor am I saying it is happening. I'm simply saying because the possibility exists, I have my doubts about holding on to Bitcoin. Price action wise, it's encouraging. In fact, I would say that it has what it takes to go up. And I do expect this asset to be $100,000 per coin within the next 3 to 6 months. But it might come down to here first, just to weed out some of the players that they don't want playing in the ballpark anymore. That's it. That's all I'm going to cover today. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Feel free to send me a message if you want as well. And if you'd like to join our live class, because when I'm done the market analysis, I go ahead and turn off live, but we continue to talk back and forth. So if you'd like to get in on that, let me know, send me a message and I'll show you how to get started with that. And that's it. That's market analysis for October 28th. Tomorrow's a good day for a crash. I think that I'll definitely wake up a little bit earlier just to watch it. Might not, but Tuesdays and Fridays are typically the best days for them to conduct the crash. So that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow.